Well, it worked. We're going to Mars. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle, and this is Hot Mike. Hot Mike's not able to be with us today, unfortunately. He was shooting a photo shoot out on the beautiful Greek island of Mykonos, and everything's very whitewashed out there. He developed a pretty severe case of snow blindness and fell down 11 flights of stairs into the blue Aegean. He's fine. He just said his hair pretty much had all the product washed out of it. So he's in the dressing room now getting ready for next week's show. But we're going to keep it brief today. SpaceX accomplished something miraculous today. They caught their super heavy booster on their first attempt with the chopsticks. They caught the rocket on the landing pad that it took off from 6 or 7 minutes earlier. This is a political show, so let me just talk a little bit about the politics of the wonder of all of this. There was a moment there when I saw the booster hanging on the chopsticks on Mechazilla, where I had that same sense of cognitive dissonance. I hate to bring back bad memories, but the last time I can remember feeling this was on the morning of September 11th. My friend Fritz called me. I was asleep at the time. And he said, "Turn on the TV, Bill." And I said, "What channel?" And he said, "Doesn't matter." And I came into the 9/11 story when there was one tower standing. And I remember looking at that one tower and thinking, that's so weird. I was sure there were two towers. I must have been mistaken. I couldn't process it. I couldn't process the fact that an entire tower, entire skyscraper was just gone. This didn't last as long, and needless to say, was a much better feeling. But for a moment there, after they caught that booster on their first attempt, I'd been expecting this, waiting for this. I knew they'd succeed sooner or later. But when I actually saw it happen, saw it hanging there was a couple of seconds when I simply couldn't process it. I just couldn't believe my eyes. It was a pretty wonderful feeling. Now, the flight wasn't perfect. Looking at it in replay, I'm recording this at about 7 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, so just 2 hours after launch. There appeared to be a little bit of a burn-through on the booster as it came down. You could see little flames on the side of it. I don't think that was normal. And some of the flaps on the reentry of the Starship also looked like they were ablating more than they needed to, so a little work needs to be done on the heat tiles. Given SpaceX's general pace on the ground, I expect that'll take about 25 minutes to get that fixed. And we know that the landing of the Starship was done, even though it was done in pitch black, we know they hit their target because they had put a buoy, not a boat, not a group of guys out there who the ship could land on. They anchored a buoy at the spot in the Indian Ocean where the rocket was expected to touch down from, and then just as it was sinking into the ocean, it exploded like a giant fireworks display. That's the technical rundown of the flight, and it's been covered by space channels, and some of them are terrific. I really like What About It, which is a channel I've been watching a lot, and it was fun to watch Felix going through all the motions of that. But I don't want to talk about the SpaceX flight so much as what I want to talk about what it represents. You know, you talk about companies that have taken a real beating like Boeing, but Boeing was named after a guy, and Hughes Aircraft was named after a guy. Lockheed was named after a pair of guys, the Lockheed brothers. They actually changed the way they spelled their name because the original spelling, I think, was Scottish, Lough, something like that. Cessna was a guy. Lear was a guy. All of them. Northrop. All of them. All of those gigantic companies were named after the person that founded that company. And it was the founders that gave those companies those reputations. It's only once they became giant conglomerates that they began to lose their reputation. Douglas Aircraft, just another one. What we saw today is not a result of Elon Musk specifically, so much as it's a return to the days when you could own your own company and do with it what you damn well pleased. You didn't have to answer to a board, and you didn't have to answer to a government. The disgraceful delays. SpaceX was ready to fly this flight 2 months ago. These disgraceful delays on the part of NASA and the Federal Aviation Administration, agencies which were designed to help put humans, and specifically American humans, into space, have tied Starship to the launch pad. And it's not a coincidence that the person who's behind this company, and all of the other companies with such incredible vision as well, Tesla and the Boring Company and all the rest of it, it's not a coincidence that these delays happened once he put on a MAGA hat and started hanging out with Donald J. Trump, who's going to be the next president of the United States. I just want to say that when I first heard that Elon Musk was talking about cycling a Starship launch every hour, that he could recover a booster and then launch the next one within an hour or so of launching it. I said, that's just completely ridiculous. It's insane. But it's not insane. And Elon Musk didn't believe it was insane, and now I don't believe it's insane either. I believe it's not only not insane, I think it's inevitable. And this is the only point I would really like to bring with you today. My imagination and my ability to aspire to dreams has been cauterized by government. What I saw as a kid growing up, and if you saw my Apollo 11 What We Saw series, I'm very, very, very proud of that. It's the best work I've ever done. And I'm mostly happy with the way I came off on that series because a lot of the excitement of being a kid watching that got through on that series. And I realized that when Musk said, no, we need to launch one of these things every hour or so if we're going to actually go to Mars, I remember thinking it's just not possible. But I didn't used to think that way. I used to believe everything was possible. Can't really pan around now because the office is still kind of a mess, but all of the walls here are covered with pictures of what the future was supposed to be when I was a kid. Saturn by 70. We were supposed to be at Saturn by 2070, Saturn by 70. Moon bases by 1980, living under the waters, cities under the water. We're going to use nuclear power to irrigate the deserts. We're going to grow cotton in the Mojave. All of that stuff, all of those aspirations have been cauterized by progressivism, which is about anti-progress. It's about the neutering of aspiration. It's about the reduction of the human spirit to human survival. It's about thinking that things cannot be done. It's about all the things that can go wrong. It's about all of the things that committees and meetings and bureaucracies and bureaucrats and administrators and junior managers and all the rest of this weight, this dead weight that we have to carry with us as a species, it had pulled my imagination down to their level. And Elon Musk just didn't buy it. Bert Rutan is another guy who just didn't buy it. He saw what was happening with our space program and saw us going round and round in circles. We weren't launching any vehicles, so he just decided to go knock on Paul Allen's door, and he made his own space program. He made his own launch vehicle. He made his own suborbital vehicle. He did it in 2004. You can't do this in other countries. You can't do this in this country if you're the government. The failure of Starliner is the failure of government. The failure of the Chinese to do what we're doing today, or the Russians, or the Europeans even, is a failure of their systems. When you saw that booster hanging there today with the chopsticks on the first attempt, that is crystal clear, prima facie, indisputable evidence of the superiority, the moral superiority, the spiritual superiority, the economic superiority, the righteousness of private property and capitalism. It's the righteousness of it. That's why it worked. It didn't work because we've got great scientists. There are great scientists all around the world. It didn't work because the government decreed that it would work. It worked because a guy said, I want this to happen, and he made it happen. And hundreds of thousands of people then went to work because they wanted it to happen too. I'm not trying to say that SpaceX is Elon Musk. Elon Musk liberated hundreds of thousands of people to pursue their own dreams and make it possible for them to go to work. And that's what we saw today. We're going to Mars. There's no stopping us. It doesn't matter who wins the election in coming November. It genuinely doesn't. I have spent so much time in the heartland of this country that no matter what they do to the government, no matter what they do to our institutions, no matter how much they tell us we hate each other, no matter how much they tell us that our best years are behind us, no matter how much they tell us that the country is finished, it doesn't matter. You cannot kill this country. You cannot kill this dream. You cannot kill the human spirit. We are going to Mars, and we're going further than that. And Elon Musk isn't showing us the way. Elon Musk is showing us what happens when other people get out of the way. This is what we're supposed to be doing as a species. The last Hot Mic episode was about the suicide rate, the insane epidemic of suicide through overdose because of a lack of meaning. You don't have to be in the space program. You don't have to be a space nut like me in order to find meaning. But what this provided today was an example of what can be done when people do have a sense of meaning and a goal and a purpose. You can go to other planets. You can colonize the universe. It's going to happen, and they can't stop it. They know they can't stop it. It doesn't matter what happens in November. I think we're going to win big. And I think one of the many reasons we're going to win big is the guy who caught a rocket booster on its own launch pad today is wearing a MAGA hat. But put that aside for a second. Although, you know what? Hang on. Don't put that aside for 1 second. Just give me 1 minute just to speculate. Just imagine in America 3 weeks from now. Well, technically speaking, a couple months from now. Just for the sake of the argument. Imagine in America where you have a president, a Senate, a House of Representatives, and a Supreme Court, all of which are designed to get the government out of the way, to take less of your money, to take less of your freedoms, to take regulations away, to just chew away at these lines that we anchor ourselves to the beach with. We're like Gulliver who hammers himself into the sand. Imagine if all of that stuff were to start to get reduced. I think it's going to happen. I really do. I genuinely think he's going to be the next president of the United States. I don't think you can stop it. But even if it doesn't matter. The government is not the country. This was done by Americans. It was done by Americans. It was done by free Americans. And nothing is ever going to stop that. Never. Never. And it's just so awesome. We'll see you next time right here on Hot Mic.